Check 1, 2. All right, you can hear me now. And can you guys, you should be able to hear that white noise in the background. Yeah, okay. Excellent. Little pre-show action here, just getting everything set up. Okay. I know everything doesn't look as crispy as it usually does in this camera. That's because the actual camera is put away and ready for world. It's not even actually totally put away. It's just taken apart and all the things. So just trying to quickly get all this together. This has been a mad dash to get everything ready. I do have all the chats up. Pulling open Discord here in a minute. I have patrons. Feel free to go ahead in the Discord. You see the chat box up there in the corner. All your comments can show up there. And anybody watching on Twitch and YouTube, you guys will be there too. I'm just waiting on my co-hosts here tonight. We were not expecting something of this magnitude. The original plan was for me to just talk about, we thought it was just going to be a new ship spoiler or something like that. Honestly, we thought that it was going to be an all Star Wars thing. We would get like Legion and Destiny information too, and just get a little tidbit similar to what they've done in the past at other events. But it turns out it was all about X-Wing. So it's pretty huge. I'm using 2 computers here. This is where I have my notes here, so excuse me as I turn this way during the show. So I'm going to go ahead and drop a test in the chat. Seems to be working. Hey, Brandon, are you there?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Give me a test 1, 2.
Test 1, 2.
I'm sorry. One more time.
Test 1, 2.
All right, cool. You sound good. Real quick, give me a second here. I just mute. So we are live now, Brandon. This is just our pre-show. They get to take a look into the pre-edited stuff. We're gonna see who else is available here from our group. Again, this was a oh my god, we gotta talk about this. Who's available? Kind of thing. So give me a couple minutes. While we get all set up, we'll be actually starting around 9:15. So give me a minute here. Yeah, we'll be right back. All right, everyone, I want to welcome you to our live recording of episode 59 of the Gold Squadron podcast. We're a little bit light today because, honestly, we didn't know. We had no clue that this announcement was going to happen today. So it's going to be me and one of our Gold Squadron aces, Brandon Prokos. So, Brandon, thanks for joining me, man.
Not a problem.
Alrighty. So we're going to go ahead and start either the official opening and all that stuff. But I want to thank you guys for joining us. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and put them in the chat. We'll reference them if as they're applicable. I do want to remind everybody that you know, we're going to keep the chat as clean as possible. That's one of our goals here, Gold Squadron Podcast. We're going to get started here. Intro music. This is episode 59 of the Gold Squadron Podcast. I'm your host, Dio Morales, and today I am joined by Brandon, the Ace Prokos.
Is that my nickname?
Yeah, man. How many league titles do you hold?
I don't know.
That many.
I never got like the plaque until we started doing it. Like when I won my last one.
That's
Otherwise,
right.
I would have a lot of plaques.
That's right. All right, man. So we're going straight at our content today. We are talking about X-Wing 2.0. The spoilers have happened. I mean, FFG gave all this information at their press conference. There was a Q&A after it that wasn't actually streamed there, but we were able to get the recording via Dice Hate Productions. Thank you for to Chris Sheriff for posting that up. There's articles. Team Covenant has videos that they were able to get some exclusive behind-the-scenes look before anybody else and publish some things. And our goal here is we made a document where we put as much of the important stuff that we could find in a timely manner. And we're just going to go down there, give you some of our initial reactions, but mostly this is going to be informative, and then also give you guys some of our thoughts behind it. So let's go ahead and get into our X-Wing 2.0 discussion. I'll put transition here. Brandon, are you looking at do you have the notes?
I have my notes too. I'm going to look at yours.
You can use your own. I will send you mine as well, so you know that's the outline that I'm using.
Okay.
Cool. Alrighty. You are an anonymous. What does that say? Cormorant? I have no idea what that is.
What?
Yeah, CORMORANT.
This is what I am?
That I don't know. It says it comes up like, you know how in your Google Docs it shows the people's names, and because you're not logged in like as an official contributor or whatever like that. Like, or it's not. It's just the share link. Anyway, we'll get going. All right, let's get into X-Wing 2.0. I think the very first thing we got to talk about is when is X-Wing 2.0 coming out? It's going to be officially released on September 13th, 2018. So what are we now? We're in May, June, July, August, September. It's 4 months away. And but we will have pre-sales at Gen Con. So if you're going to be at Gen Con, go ahead, pick up your X-Wing 2.0, start getting familiar with it. I know that we will be at Gen Con, a lot of us, and one of our plans is to make sure we can get our hands on as many copies of this stuff as possible. Thank you to that subscriber, by the way. Live. I got notifications now in my ears. We're gonna take some time aside from the main event, which will be one of the last first edition events, and we're gonna play some 2.0, get some of the players available and put out some streams and videos and stuff. That should be a lot of fun. Brandon, let's go ahead and talk about factions. What are the new things with the factions? What's new? What's old?
New factions? You're talking about First Order?
Yeah, that whole thing.
First Order and Resistance are now their own faction, which right now there's only a couple of ships, but they said they were going to pull from all the existing media for ship ideas and stuff like that. So it should fill out pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're aware, Brandon, but there are also other. Um, there's a new animated series coming up that's called like Star Wars Resistance, and that's all going to
I saw
be
that.
during that time period. So I imagine that our ship selection is going to very quickly, um, you know, become available because we know that ships are going to be in there. There's going to be new ships, even in the art there. It looks like it might be an X-wing from like the picture down, like in the logo, but even that looks kind of different because there's some new stuff on the side of the ship. But yeah, I'm excited. But the other thing with this, we were talking in our chat, Brandon, and with them splitting off the First Order and the Resistance as their own or not, they're not sub factions anymore, as their own faction. This might lead to possibly getting the Republic and Separatists in there. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I would love that. From the very beginning, I liked all the designs from the prequels and stuff like that. That like one can deny that the designs were good, even if you didn't like the story. Like they're all very Ralph McQuarrie-ish type designs. So, I mean, I'd be thrilled if they added that.
Yeah, they're just pretty. I love them. I think they look great. So we might have that to look forward to. I know originally when they designed this game, they built it as, being part of the Galactic Civil War. Like that's what the game time period was. But as soon as you add the First Order and the Resistance, it's no longer Galactic Civil War, right? It's after that. So expanding backwards in time might not be a bad idea either.
Yeah, I'd
So,
be all for that. That would give us what droids. We would get, uh, I assume, like all the good guys, like the Naboo and everything would be their own. Droids would be their own. The newish Empire or whatever would be its own, or the pre-Empire.
mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think it was called the Galactic Republic, maybe, or something Republic. But yeah, that's you'll get your Jedi and things like that. Again, none of that's confirmed. This is speculation, but it does lead the possibility there. Um, so
Chancellor Palpatine could be like old Palpatine.
do it. No, I guess he was more refined then, a little less, force fugly. Um,
I want a Jar Jar ship.
you want to Jar Jar crew? I mean, it came out in Destiny. Why not? Why not X-wing too? Hey, how's it going, Francois? I noticed that you just were able to join us.
Hey, doing good. How are you guys?
Doing good, man. We're talking about 2.0. Did you get the link to the notes?
No, I'm just finished like scanning and reading the articles a little bit. Still have a lot of questions on it, but thought I'd pop on.
Yep. So, Francois is one of our other Gold Squadron aces. Francois, the link to the where I kind of summed everything up is in the.
Yeah, I see it.
There you go, in the chat. So what I want to move on to next is what is going to be in Wave 1 of 2.0, second edition, however you want to call it. I think the biggest thing that we were worried about was backwards compatibility, and your X-Wing first edition stuff is still usable. Some of it is usable in X-Wing 2.0, which I'm glad I've heard that in other games. Again, this is my first miniatures game, so I'm not completely familiar with it. But in a lot of other games, when you get a new edition, a lot of stuff just goes in the garbage can. You have to start all over. But what is backwards compatible? Your models are backwards compatible. The plastic bases, the pegs, and your range rulers. Not 100% about templates because of the middle line that's on there. There's lots of discussion there with the templates, but we know that we need, at least for the barrel roll and for the Talon rolls, you need that middle line to mark on the ship base token. We'll get to that later. But the dice are the same. So then how are you going to be able to use these ships? They're coming out with 3 conversion kits. They're going to be $50 each. And when I heard about the conversion kit without, seeing anything, at first I thought it was only going to be the ships, like converting the ships that are part of Wave 1. But actually it's converting, if you look at the Rebels, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 different ships, and then it's multiple of those. So if you just look at the Rebels, you got 3 A-Wings, 2 ARC 170s, 2 Azatucks. I mean, it goes down this list. I mean, there's a lot in this. For $50, you're getting all the cardboard, the dials you need for that, the new cards, upgrades, and if you have all these ships already and all you need is the new cards and cardboard, you don't have to buy the new ships, because everything that comes in the Wave 1 ships are going to be in the conversion kits already. So that lowers the cost of overall. One thing that they did talk about is that they've worked a lot on balance, and I know that some people are concerned about the cost of shifting to 2.0. What are your guys' thoughts on, Brandon, I'll have you go first. What are your thoughts on somebody who's on a budget, maybe going with just one faction at first?
Yeah, I think that's entirely viable. I mean, there's no reason to get into more than you can handle, just like any other game.
Francois?
Yeah, I would say it seems as though a lot of people are, a lot of people I know maybe are more 1 or 2 faction specific. And it seems as though, with all of just my initial reaction, it seems like it comes with quite a few conversions that maybe you might not need all of them, and some trading and bartering could be done, I guess. Because
seeing a lot of people online talking about trading, because I mean, if you're casual, you're not going to run like whatever 3 or 4 of the like the Imperial one comes with 3 decimators.
Mm-hmm.
And no one's going to run that, so you can just trade.
Yeah, like it seems like you could maybe you don't need all of the conversion kits, and I'm sure eBay is going to be all over if splitting these up if you need one or an extra or something.
Yeah, and here's the other thing, like looking at this whole 2.0 and the amount of work that has gone into 2.0, because not only did they have to provide the cardboard and the cards for each of these conversion kits, you got to understand they had to convert also, all of the abilities, and because if you look at the preview pictures on there, if you look at the preview pictures that FFG has released, a lot of these pilots have new abilities, or they've been tweaked and changed. So they're not, when it's Wave 1, this is not your first edition Wave 1 where you had just X-Wings and TIE Fighters, right? And Y-Wings and TIE Advanced. You had like 4 ships and that was it. We're starting 2.0 with, I mean, how many ships had I counted? In the teens, times 3 factions. I mean, it's going to be immediately a diverse meta. Like it's gonna be really diverse, and we're gonna see all kinds of ships on the table. And I think this is a perfect segue into medium bases. Did you guys see that?
Yeah, I noticed that they were mentioning that, and I have a couple questions that you might be able to answer that I'm just not able to figure out yet.
Sure.
So all I'm seeing is, and I guess I've seen maybe mention that PS6 is the highest now?
Yes. PS9 is not a thing anymore. The reason they gave in the presser was they noticed that you either you were looking at PS 8, 9, 10, 11 when you were squad building, or you were looking at the lowest PS for blocking. That having that big white net in the middle from like 4 to 7, there you barely saw pilots in that pilot skill being used. So now they're trying, what they're trying to do is shorten it up, have less numbers. They're calling it now initiative, not pilot skill. So there's some vocabulary changing there, but by having less options, 1 to 6, making it so that the difference between 1 and 6 is not as great.
Gotcha. And I'm noticing in the pictures of the app, like R2D2 is 10 points, and so obviously 100 points is changing.
Yeah, it's go ahead, Brandon.
They're going to go to 200-point format, which is still basically the same amount of ships you have on the board now. It's just prices are going up. So
yeah, I assume they're doing that for they're trying to make points a little bit more widespread so they can correctly allocate upgrades and the point costs and such.
Yep. Essentially, what it gives them half points, right? In our current system, if you were just to kind of compare it, it gives them 1.5, 2.5, by doing that. So we'll get back on our notes. We went on a little bit of we jumped ahead a little, but the good stuff there. No, it's awesome. It's all we're so excited. I mean, even I jumped forward a little bit. Hey, do me a favor, Francois. In your settings, can you turn down your microphone? That way I could turn you both up, because Brandon's coming in a little bit low.
You bet. Is that better?
Give me a test 1 2.
1 2 test 1 2.
Brandon, give me a 1 2.
1 2.
Brandon, are you able to turn yours up a little bit?
Let me see. Is that better?
Give me a test 1 2.
Test 1 2.
And Francois?
Test 1 2.
Francois, just turn yours down a little bit more, and we should be good.
Okay.
You guys are more even. That's it. We should have it now. Okay. The next thing that was talked about, or not the next thing that was talked about. Let me reset that. Editing. It's amazing. The next thing I want to cover here is that with the upcoming Wave 14 expansions, with the TIE Reaper and Saw's Partisans, I believe is the name of the expansion, those come with the 2.0 versions of the cards in that box already. So a lot of people, the initial reaction before they got to that tidbit is, well, why am I going to buy this Wave 14 stuff anyway? I'm not going to be able to use it. Actually, you can. This Wave 14 expansion is essentially like Wave 0 of X-Wing 2nd Edition, because all those cards, you're going to get the 2.0 versions in that box, including all their cardboard, which now makes sense. A lot of people were like, why is the TIE Reaper in such a big box? Well, there's a lot of stuff inside that box.
Yeah, that's a good point about the box size. You wouldn't have figured that otherwise, because, like, what was the other thing? Like the Kylo's shuttle or Kylo's fighter came in like a really huge box.
Yep. I wonder. Say that again. You cut off.
I wonder if they were like originally planning to start with that wave, and then they just pushed it back, and that's why the box is so huge.
It might be. It absolutely might be. Or that like the silencer in that box was a test run to see if that box size was going to work. Could be a possibility there. Let's go ahead and talk about the app. So X-Wing now has a digital component. It is the X-Wing app. According to FFG, the app is going to be free, which I think is a huge piece. You definitely don't want to go paying for you get the cards. By buying the cards, you're financing the upkeep of the app, and by buying the ships and stuff. So the X-Wing app, as far as we know, is going to have a squad builder, which is going to be necessary because of the adjustable point costs. It'll hold all of the adjustable stats. So these stats include the points costs for your ships and upgrades, as well as the upgrade bars on the ships. So, for instance, let's say we were in 2.0 a couple months ago when they errated the Jumpmaster. All they would do is on their side, they would delete the icons, and then it would show up on your app, and you would know what's going on. They also talked about there's going to be some really cool possibilities with organized play and adding new types of formats that are, receivable on the app. I'm curious to see if they will add some type of components where you'll be able to get like tournament information also on your app. That could be cool. Again, it's their app. We'll see what they end up adding. But for those of you who are not able to get the app, or you don't have internet connectivity, or you have limited data plans, I do like that they did say they're going to be having printable PDFs on their website for those people who have, like I said, limited access or whatever, so you can print it out and have the current costs. But they did emphasize, it actually was Zach, the head of organized play, they emphasize like, we're not just gonna be like, oh, on Monday we're going to be making sure, on Monday R2D2 will be 10 points, on Tuesday 12 points, on Wednesday 15 points. There's gonna be scheduled tweaks and patches, and of course I'm sure they have the ability to do emergency ones if they need to, but they'll have that there. They're going to not only increase points on things, they'll decrease. So if they notice that something isn't getting used, they'll start dropping it. It's going to be kind of like card stocks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like that feature that they're doing that. That's, it's funny. Today, as I was driving around, I was listening to Minax Squadron's previous podcast where D was going through the art of X-Wing. And it's like a lot of what his concerns were, which I think he, beautifully put in that episode, are being kind of addressed today.
Yeah, so many things. Francois, what are your thoughts on the app?
Well, I haven't been able to. I just saw a blip on it on one of their articles, but I think this really takes care of any of the, the size of the FAQ that's going to be needed, or things in the future like that. They can really just correct in immediate gameplay, or as they release new waves, they're able to correct any mistakes they make on quickly. And I think that's a great idea. I think it was brilliant.
And Brandon?
Yeah, I think the app is going to be really huge. I mean, they can do anything they want with this. They can have you, so you click on a card and it immediately tells you like the interactions, what it works with, what it doesn't. They can do they can do anything. The FAQ can be a button to constantly look up or download it and stuff like that. Honestly, I wish they would just let us print directly off their app instead of having to bring the cards. Because I feel like at this point, you already have your app, right? Like, if they're not going to print the card values or the point costs on the upgrades, then they should just let us print it off. Because right now, I can't just look at a guy's list across and like quickly tally up 200 points of stuff if I don't know what the printed thing is. But if they're printing directly from the app, then I don't have to worry about that. Because, I mean, let's be honest, no one really goes around checking lists at like smaller tournaments. Basically, you go to a system open and up, and that's where they check lists. But I mean, just let us print it out. It's so much easier.
Well, have they said that they wouldn't allow us to print from the app?
We don't have information either way.
Okay, because that might be something
to just let us do that.
Yeah, I really like that. There's so many, third-party apps out there for Apple phones or products, and then the other, what is it? Some of the other phones. It's just going to be nice to have one place where we all recognize the printouts, and I like that feature where it's going to be just kind of uniform.
Right. How many times after like new info gets released on a new wave are you like, oh, what app has the latest stuff on it?
Yeah,
exactly.
It's just
this one.
It's true. Well, the thing is, Also, those apps have other functions, even like third party. What we now are going to be considered third party squad builders is you do have things like List Juggler and different types of stream overlays that currently don't have any integration with something like Tome, the FFG tournament software, as opposed to Cryodex that does have integration, or the TTT. Like there probably will still be a use for third party software and internet sites, but it's yet to be seen how FFG plans on integrating with the community at large, because they're aware, when they made Tome, the software development side of X-Wing, the independent software developers, they did ask to see if they could try to get it integrated with, with List Juggler and all that. It didn't quite work out, but we'll see what happens in the future, right? It's brand new. It's a new day. Let's go ahead and start talking and breaking down some of the new abilities and different components. I'm seeing a lot of questions asking our opinions on some of the things we haven't gotten to yet. We'll go ahead and we will answer those questions today, but we got to get there. So give us a minute. I've seen your comments and questions. So let's talk about the cards first. Just physically, the cards, they the physical cards, they blah blah blah. Let's say that again. The physical cards do have a different look to them. Now, instead of having just things are just kind of reformatted, and you do notice that there are no longer points cost on them. If you have a moment when you're listening to this in the future, I will have a link to the document that we're using here, and I have a couple pictures, and you can see the differences if you haven't seen them already. Some ships will have like the titles baked into the card, so you'll see it on the card. They gave it a name during the press conference. I forgot what it was called. It's like the like ship abilities, not pilot abilities, but ship abilities. So that's one thing that we do have going on. You notice that there are no longer upgrade slots as well, because that's something that's been pushed now to the app. The other thing that's extra here is that you see that not only do you have the name of the pilot, but you also have a subtitle for that pilot. So, for instance, in our sheet here, I pulled out the Captain Faroff TIE Reaper pilot, and his subtitle is Imperial Courier. One of those things that might be used as design space later on by saying, hey, we have, Captain Faroff, the Imperial Courier. We also have Captain Faroff also in a Reaper, but, some other subtitle Y instead of subtitle X, but you're in the same ship and possibly get a different ability. But now you can't play them both because you have to choose. Destiny does something like that, right? I know, Brandon, you're a little bit more familiar with Destiny.
It's kind of like the unique cards, I think, where you can have so-and-so this, but not so-and-so. Like you can play young Anakin Skywalker, but not Darth Vader.
Right.
But for this, it seems mostly just like flavor text type stuff.
Mm-hmm. So, and then let's move on to, since we're on cards right now, the upgrade cards. I think this is more of an annoyance than anything. It's a small thing, but they did change the size of upgrade cards. They are now the same size as a pilot card, and they're landscape.
Yeah. I mean, imagine, Francois, you're playing whatever the 2.0 version of NIM is, and you have 10 of these friggin' things on the table, plus the pilot card.
Yeah, well, that'll be yet to be determined. We'll see how that works. I read that you're supposed to place them under the pilot card.
Yeah, like the half of the card, or about half of the card, has a part that goes underneath, so they kind of stack and reduce the amount of space that it's used. But kind of taking a glance back at the number of ships that are going to be be released, you do notice that the Scourge is not on that list in the initial wave of conversion kits. So they're definitely going back and going, we can't get 10 upgrades on this thing again. And though the K-Wing is in the conversion kit, so I'm definitely curious to see what's going to happen there. That's a tangent. We'll leave that alone. But again, there's a lot here. We can go on tangents forever.
Brandon's gonna have to spend energy.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten there. Well, actually, Brandon, that is a great transition. We're going to go ahead and transition there. I have a list here of new mechanics / rule changes that I want to hit on. We'll try to go through these as fast as possible because there's a lot of them, and I want to get to everybody's questions here in the chats. So we've already talked about the 200-point game. Brandon, what can you tell me about the barrel roll?
Barrel roll, you're going to need the new templates because now there's only 3 possible ways to barrel roll on each side. You can either go like it is now, as far forward as possible, or as far back. And also there's a little line on the side directly in the middle that you have to line up with the direct middle line on the one maneuver. So there's no more like sliding it one way as much as you want, and kind of like basically there's a lot less options now for barrel rolling. You're stuck in all the way forward, all the way back, or direct middle, which I think they just kind of wanted to nerf how much higher pilot skill or higher initiative now they're calling it. Guys could get out of the way. I don't know.
Right. Well, at least now, it gives you some definitive spots where the barrel roll has to be. I think it gives you 6 different positions because you can go like from front. So if we're going from the front, you can go front to front, front to middle, front to back. And then there's some of those combinations that do the same. I think it gives you 6 total positions you can go on one side, but still that's extremely limited compared to the, using the entire width on both sides. It's definitely less.
Right.
Let's talk about charges. You brought it up, Brandon. There's this little lightning bolt token that you see on a lot of the new cards. And this is how FFG has decided to you have abilities that you can only do a certain number of times. I think the one that caught my eye right away is R2-D2. You have a limit of 3 times it can be done. Because there's charge tokens on them. Now, there's some other text there that you might be able to have abilities where you can get them back, but now there's going to be some more resource management when it comes to using abilities. I really doubt we'll ever see Bomblet Generator again because they're already baking in like, all right, you can only use this X amount of times, trying to really limit unlimited uses of things. And yeah, so it basically just tracks how many times you can use an effect or a card. We also saw them, I believe, on missile cards. There was a couple of, I don't think I saw any pilot abilities, right, at least yet. But I mean, they're using this just to track how many times you can do X, Y, or Z. Let's talk.
I really like this change. I mean, one, it gets rid of like mandatory extra munition type upgrades. Bakes R2-D2 into it. It gets rid of reloading, I guess.
Well, reload is still there. Reload is still there,
right,
but it has a different function.
Yeah, but you don't need like, I don't know if they wanted to make like reload and upgrade or something. They don't have to do that now. They can just bake it into like the pilot ability.
Yep.
It's just here. It saves extra munitions, which is another card that you don't have to take with you and take up table space.
Yep, absolutely. And I do expect that the number of upgrades we're going to see on ships to probably drop, especially with the size increasing. We'll have to wait and see, but there's a lot of the cards like titles and things that are going to be baked in now, like we're using that term into the ship. Let's talk about the Force. Some pilots are going to be able to use the Force. Currently, the only way that we know that it can be used is spending a Force token to convert an eyeball result to an evade is the way that they talked about it. You might be able to do it on attack. I don't have that 100% confirmed, but I'm going to assume that you can convert one eyeball result to your desired positive result, hit or evade. I wouldn't be surprised if in the future force sensitive pilots would be also to be able to spend these to get other abilities. If they did talk about force upgrades, so a ship that says something like you can spend a force token to get this other thing, whatever it might be. But we have the force in it. They said during the presser that they don't want it to make it gimmicky. Hopefully they don't make it gimmicky, and hopefully it's balanced. The force is important, and it should be part of Star Wars. They said that they really worked on that with Lucasfilm, and we'll see how it comes out. Brandon, I want to talk to you about the new mobile arc stuff, because you had this idea long before FFG ever put it on the table.
I did, but I can't say where.
Right. But you did, right? What are your thoughts on them introducing this, the way that they're going to be introducing this in 2.0? And explain it to people.
I think it's great. So right now, for upcoming turrets, if it's an upgrade, it's straight 90 degrees. You don't get the full 360 whenever you want. And for ships that beforehand were primary, like the Falcon and the Decimator, that is now going to like the Shadowcaster type thing. The Falcon is going to have a little token, like the Shadowcaster token, that's front and back. So you can either rotate it to have the front and back, or you can rotate it and have both sides at the same time, which is pretty cool. I mean, you won't get that like pseudo 180 degree cheese by just like pointing it at the left and then just circling around on this side, but
yeah, it's lambdas
have a rear firing arc.
Yeah, if you look at your lambda, go ahead right now, pause this, or maybe you're listening to the live cast. Your lambda shuttle has a gun in the back. If you look at it on the model, there's a gun there. You'll see it. So yeah, it has a rear firing arc now. So it gets to shoot back there. We don't know if there's any special rules or anything like that, but it has a back arc now.
Which also leads into the auto thruster change, which no longer does what it does. It gives you perform an action, I think, and then get a free boost or barrel roll. So it's strictly auto thrusters, just strictly a maneuver upgrade now.
Yeah, there's so many cards are different now. Side tangent. One of I think the hardest things that's competitively or even casually that's going to be the adjustment here for 2.0 is a lot of us associate the art on the upgrade cards with what that card is. We're going to have to relearn all that. So be prepared and make sure you have your thinking caps on when you start playing, and don't assume that the old Deadeye Luke Skywalker art, him in the X-Wing, isn't Deadeye. It's whatever it is now. I don't know it yet.
Hopefully, I noticed saturation salvo in the picture of the Empire. Hopefully they made that good.
Maybe. Maybe. Francois, what are your thoughts on the new turret functionality?
I think it's pretty cool. A lot of people wanting correction on turrets, so I like it.
Somebody needs to mute their copy of the stream. Yeah, I'm excited about it. It gives counterplay to turrets. I'm excited. I think you have, if you are a higher pilot skill, if you're a higher pilot skill ship, or sorry, a higher initiative now ship, you're going to be able to have a opportunity to possibly arc dodge. Of course, there's new ways to do that because of the template rules and all that. We'll get there eventually, but it gives counterplay to turrets. There's no like just circuiting around the board and you get a shot.
Yeah, I think anything that makes the I think we all agree that the fun part about this game is the dials and the guessing and trying to bluff and read your opponent and the eyeballing the maneuvers, right? I think those are the two aspects of the game that are just the best. And now with the way they have the turrets going, it makes the dials more relevant. Not that they were irrelevant before, but it just anything that increases the dial relevancy is a good idea.
Fantastic. So we'll move on here. Let's talk about pilot skill. Pilot skill is now in initiative. It's capped at 6, and there's no more veteran instincts. This is something that a lot of players have been talking about for a while. VI became, as well with auto thrusters and a bunch of other cards that they have now made core mechanics, but VI is one of those where you just started stapling it to things. You're like, I have to be PS11 now. I have to, like, I can't use my EPT for anything else. And that is one of the ideas that they went into, or it seems that they went into making 2.0, is getting rid of auto includes, or trying to at least. Capping at 6 means that 6 is as high as you can go. So we're going to start seeing some different strategy in list building now, because it's no longer you don't have that ability to change initiative / pilot skill anymore. And now I want to talk about the word initiative. Initiative is now replaced with first player is how it's currently being called. There's going to be a token that is determined the same way we determine initiative now with a die roll. It might also be determined by a bid. We don't have the official rules yet, but whoever is the first player, if you have matching pilot skill, you move first, and was yet to see whether you also shoot first, but there's a good chance that if you are the first player, you move and shoot first, and if you're second, you move and shoot second. Not confirmed, but is a good possibility, but they have replaced that vocabulary, initiative, with first player. What else here? We got secondary weapons now have range bonuses. So range...
Auto blaster.
Auto blaster range 1, extra dice, or who knows what it'll be. And it also, sorry, got off track here. Yeah, so turrets, missiles, all these things have different, the range component is big, because now you can range control secondary weapons. Some more just kind of smaller details. Ions work differently now. 1 ion ionizes a small ship, 2 for a medium, 3 for a large. And the weapon, the ion turret, for instance, now has like special rules where you have to hit and then hit like 1+ in order for the ion to actually stick. More details later, but that's something that I saw in one of the Team Covenant videos that were playing with the ion cannon turret. That like the first hit that goes through causes damage, but the second one causes the ion. So they're starting to play with how it's not just like hit and this thing happens. They're starting to give you more defensive capability, but also try to make you work harder to try to hit. Again, trying to even out the playing field. When it comes to...
Also now possible, depending on how many dice you roll, to just completely ionize a big ship with 1 attack if you have enough dice.
Yep. I mean, that's the possibilities. It's all new. All of it. When it comes to slots on a ship, not all modifications is now an actual slot. It's not something that every ship has. Some will have multiple modification slots. I would imagine that something like the YT 1300, the Falcon, is probably going to have more than 1 modification, because that's part of the lore, right? The Han Solo did all these mods, and it's a really customizable ship. So we'll see that. And some, I would imagine, like probably some Imperial ships probably won't have mod slots because they're, from the factory, and Scum probably has more, because they're just like janking things together all the time. We talked about the barrel roll again already. let's focus is supposedly the same. Don't have that 100%, but focus is supposedly the same. Evade tokens work different though. Now you change one of your dice to an evade result rather than adding an evade result to the roll. So you can't have 3 dice, throw 3 evades, and then spend spend your evade token to get a 4th evade. You could only evade up to the maximum of your defense agility value, whatever you threw that turn. We're getting a new phase called the system phase. Don't know what that is. And some ships
That's
also
where you drop bombs, I think.
I know for sure that's where you drop bombs. The on reveal bombs are dropped during this, what do they call it again? System phase. I like that because you now know where the bombs are going to be before you put your dial down.
Hey, Dion, one note on those tokens. All the round ones get cleared at the end of the phase now. So it's the shape of the token that determines.
There you go. Hello to one of our other Gold Squadron aces, Nathan Oglesby. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. It's an exciting day.
It is an exciting day. And yes, shape of the token determines whether you pull it right away or it stays on the board. And some of the ships also have new hull and shield values. So if you're looking through some of the cards, you'll notice that things are different. I couldn't name you some off the top of my head. There's so much new content here. We're still trying to digest it. This is just initial notes that we, throughout our workday from our chat, we're just kind of pasting things in our chat and trying to get some things together.
X-Wings have 4 hull.
Yeah, X-Wings have 4 hull. There you go. That's integrated astromech, right? Is basically what it is.
No, they just have a straight up printed 4 value now on the card.
I know, but like the reason why they have 4 is probably because they're like, oh, we should have had integrated astromech on this the whole time. Let's just give it an extra hull.
Yeah, let's just ditch the card and make something more interesting for droids.
Yep. So let's go ahead and talk about actions. So Nathan, what are some things that you saw when it came to actions?
Well, some of the actions can cause stress now. They have stress-inducing actions. So actions have different levels of difficulty in this new one. As opposed to, since push the limit's no longer a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so some of your actions, it's actually shown on your card. You'll see it on the TIE Reaper, for instance, has a red coordinate action. But there are going to be upgrades that say, all right, now that's white, or now that's not green, because we don't have green things anymore, by the way. It's blue for color blindness. I really like that they did that, by the way. I'm a fan of that. I'm not colorblind myself, but I think that's really helpful. I know they didn't change the dice, and probably the reason why they didn't change the dice is because of all the people who won regional dice and all this before, but that's a whole nother debate.
It's because they know you blue screen your dice cam.
Right. They did it just for me, right?
Absolutely.
That'll open up design space for blue regional dice in the future, I'm sure.
Maybe. Maybe.
Hey, there's some actions that have like a white action and an arrow to a red action. Is that supposed to be like a push the limit type thing?
Yes. So I was literally just about to touch on that one. Those are called linked actions. So it's one of those. So there's some of them where you'll see a focus and an arrow and then a boost. So what that means is that you can do a focus action for free, and if you want, you can go ahead and additionally do a boost action, but it's going to cost you a stress. Some of the ships are going to have 2 white ones. You might have a white and a blue. I mean, there's design space for when they can change up the colors, but yeah, push the limit's no longer a thing. Ships that FFG in their design mean to have multiple actions, whether it's a token and a movement, or a movement then a token. And the order matters, by the way. You have to do one and then the other. You can't forego the first one to get to the second one, because what they might do is even say, like, in order to get this one action on your bar, you can only get it by doing this other action first. Yeah, so that's a possibility there. Those are called linked actions. It's your new baked-in push the limit. We talked about the bases already. We got small bases, large bases, medium bases, and I want to go ahead and talk about the medium base. So I had some people who do some eyeballing, some measurements, and the new medium base is approximately 1.5 small bases by 1.5. So when it comes to eyeballing, we at least have that reference. It's going to be weird looking for 1.5 bases on the board, but we'll have to get used to it. But at least we know that it's 1.5. You have some type of reference in there. When you do a 1 forward on a medium base, you will have moved, 1 plus the ship for a total of 2.5 base lengths, or a total of, if you go from like your ship that you're moving plus the 1, that'd be 6. There's some new math there to be memorized and get used to. The tokens on, did you guys notice that the actual cardboard that goes on the base looks really different?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a star field now, and everything's got a rear arc and a bullseye arc.
And I'm curious to know whether or not that bullseye arc is going to have the same ability. Again, there's so much information out there. It might be out. That information might be available already, but I haven't seen it yet. But every ship has the bullseye arc, meaning that they can in the future get upgrades that say, if enemy ship is in the bullseye firing arc, you can do X and Y and Z. Every ship also has those little tick marks for in the future. If they decide to do new things with the templates, you can match up the tick marks with your templates. And one thing back in the rules, I forgot to mention this, is we have a new range reference. Range 1 to 3, like we know, is normal. That hasn't changed. But there is a new range 0, which now applies to any ship that is touching you or yourself. You are no longer range 1 from yourself. You are range 0 from yourself. So anything in contact with you is range 0. So this is going to matter when it comes to abilities that say, friendly ship at range 1. In 2.0, that no longer also means yourself. It's only people that are not your friendly ships that are not touching you, but are range 1 from you. So range 0, new reference. You'll see on some of the upgrade cards, you'll see some abilities say a friendly ship at range 0 to 1. So that's some possibilities there. Let's talk about the damage deck. In our notes, gentlemen, I do have some pictures of the new damage decks in there. Couple of notes about them. We'll go ahead and read some of these new abilities first. Brandon, can you go ahead and read for me Damage Engine?
Damage Engine is, let me see if I can zoom in. Increase the difficulty of your turn maneuvers. Is that what it says?
Yep.
Left and right? Yeah. So I guess that means whites become reds, blues become whites.
Yep, and whatever other color. You slide it down 1 on the scale. Francois, what is Hull Breach?
Before you would suffer 1 or more hit damage, suffer that much crit damage instead. And there's an action that would repair this card.
Yeah, the repair keyword means to flip it over, just for anybody who hasn't caught that yet. Nathan, what are our new direct hits?
The new direct hits are suffer 1 hit damage, then repair this card. So you're going to be going through damage deck cards more frequently with these.
Yeah, that's going through damage, and also if in a situation where if you have abilities that can get that face-up damage underneath the shields, that hit damage would actually come off of a shield because you're suffering a hit damage, not suffering. It doesn't say deal a card there. So some little bit different way to look at the wording here, but it's important that we understand the suffering 1 hit damage can be different depending if you have shields or not. Panicked Pilot is another one. It says gain 2 stress tokens, then repair this card. That makes people sad. 2 stress is very, very sad. So you don't want that one. Being double stressed is never good. And then we have Fool Leak is another one. It's a ship crit. After you suffer 1 critical damage, suffer 1 normal damage, and repair this card. So a little bit different. It's not quite a direct. It's not like a direct hit, but it's another way to get multiple damage in the future if you deal a crit to somebody else. And again, this would do different things. If this crit card is underneath the shields, then it would take a shield off when you suffer a crit. Like different possibilities there. And structural damage has changed. What does it say there now, Nathan?
Structural damage is now when you defend, roll 1 fewer defense dice. So I imagine obstacles will come into play now as well.
Yep, obstacles and range bonuses. A couple other things about these crit cards, small little bits. You'll notice that on the bottom left of the crit cards, you have whatever number that card is. So you'll have your 1 through. We don't know how many cards there are total yet. We don't have that confirmed. Let's assume 33, that's what we had before. But they have these little dots next to that number, and it shows you how many of that crit card exist in the deck. So currently we have, from what we know we have 2 damage engines, the new one, 2 hull breaches, only 5 direct hits, 2 panicked pilots, 2 structural damage, 4 fuel leaks. So fuel. Go ahead.
I gotta think there's gonna be more than 33 when you look at, assuming like direct hit is the 14th crit, let's call it, right? Because they have numbers there. So I assume that there's 14 different varieties, and then most of them have 2, but then you have 5 and 4.
No, 14 is just the number of that card. Like, you know how your damage decks are. So it could be 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. Like, those are all your direct hits.
Oh, you're saying that's the number of the card?
Yeah, the number of the card.
33?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're just labeling each card so you can look and see which one you're missing if you're short a card at a glance.
Gotcha.
And then
it seems like they're not going to have the piles of stress, and they're getting away from that. So this 2 stress tokens, then repair this card, is probably significant. I would think they're probably doing away with the multitude of stress mechanics. Am I right?
We don't know. We don't have any update for R3A2 or anything like that. So we'll have to see what comes up. As of right now, I haven't seen any other stressing mechanics. Again, it could be out there, it could be in an article or something that's been spoiled. There's a ton. I haven't seen it yet. Last thing I want to touch on here from our notes is while they're working on re-releasing the other ships that are not part of the conversion packs, which I did see somebody gave me that number. They counted it up. I think that it was in the 40s. Trying to look quickly through my chat here. I lost it somewhere in there. 40-something ships. While they're working on getting out the other ones that were part of first edition, they will also be releasing new ships alongside of it. So while we wait for things like the TIE Silencer or anything like that, you can we can be excited by new content as well. And I think that's the way they have to go about it, because while people will be excited to play their old ships again, we're suckers. We want new stuff too, right? You're like, all right, this is really cool. I can play my my TIE Punisher, yes, but I'd also like this other thing, a new thing.
Hey, one thing of note, I don't know if you all caught it, but the Saws of Renegades expansion pack and the new TIE Reaper expansion pack are hybrid packs. They include cards for both 1.0 and 2.0.
Yeah, we did mention that earlier, and that's an absolutely awesome feature. Okay, so we went through our notes. Those are some of the big highlights that we got. I'm sure we've missed stuff. We were even debating whether or not we were going to do this tonight because of how much information is there. But we do want to give you guys some content. We're gonna go ahead and go through some of our questions that we have here. Actually, Sir George tells us there are 58 ships total. When we start second edition, we'll have 58 ships ready to go. So that's tons, absolutely tons. And I'm going to go back in the chat and see if we find some of those questions that we were asked.
Well, I have a question. You guys were talking about the shape of the tokens.
Mm-hmm.
What was that about the shape? If they're square or circular, that matters?
If they're circular at the end of the round, they're removed from the board.
So it's just signifies whether or not it stays on the board or not. At the end phase. Now, guys, I think while I know that we are excited about 2.0, I really think this is gonna revitalize not only the competitive scene but also the casual scene. The reason for that is the challenge with having an active casual scene is it's hard to be casual all the time because there's also that, like, I want to play Star Wars and win. By balancing the game or agreeing on using some of the pre-gens, which that's something actually we didn't talk about, the pilots will also have available like pre-generated lists, not necessarily lists, but like pilots, like these upgrades are a level 2, and face off against this other level 2 ship and make a comparable list. So they're creating this even playing ground for casual players to agree on or to play some type of pre-generated list format. But by rebalancing the game, it makes it so that people that are new and are not super aware of all the combo wombos that we've been aware of for such a long time, it makes it even. We're getting rid of a lot of abusive combos that have existed. I think it's going to be really good for the game. But I know that the part that a lot of people are worried about, and it is, for me, what I've seen, the only, or at least what I'll call the loudest negative complaint, and it is that there is a cost associated with going into a 2.0. I have my thoughts on it. The four of us, we all have very different lives, different backgrounds, and jobs and stuff like that. And what I'd like each of you to do is tell me what are your thoughts on the financial impact that it's going to have for you, and maybe your plan and how you're going to go about it. Is this going to stop you from playing? We'll just kind of go around the horn. I'll finish. Francois, we'll start with you.
No, I guess I didn't concern myself too much with the cost of it, especially because, like I said earlier, I don't play Empire very much. I might dabble in getting some of the Empire conversions, but it's like I can always, I'm sure, trade or go in halvesies with someone. And, if I don't need 2 U-Wings or 2 Lambda shuttle fixes, conversions, split the cost with somebody. In some regards, I would think that that's going to be done.
Brandon?
Yeah, I'll probably just start off with the Rebel and then the Imperial. Maybe pick up Scum later or trade. I don't see myself really needing 4 Z95s unless like swarms become a thing, or 2 YT-2400s or 2 Falcons. So there will be a lot of people out there. So just trade in the initial get up, and then
I'll jump in until he starts talking.
But
I think this is Nathan here. I think that I'll probably stick with one faction. I haven't decided which because I like to play them all, and really just space out the purchases.
Yeah, fantastic. I think that is the people who are super worried about it, and I totally get it. Like, I am not trying to downplay the financial burden that it would be to convert your entire collection. I mean, it's huge. You've already made the investment in the game. And I think it's probably the biggest shock for people who haven't played competitive miniatures games before. Especially like X-Wing has been one of those where it has spanned people who are super competitive and also casual. So just remember a couple things. If you have a really strong group of people who play, first edition in your area, and you guys do casual missions, you don't ever worry about tournaments, you guys can keep playing first edition. There's nothing stopping you from there. So don't if you can't do it and you have a group that can still play first edition, go ahead and play first edition. You're going to be fine. All of the strategy and tactics from positioning, those are things that are going to be universal from first edition to second edition. So you could still, even though maybe you're not playing second edition, you could still learn some stuff from what first edition players, from what second edition players are doing if you're playing first. I think these guys brought up probably the most obvious point is the splitting of go with one faction if you need to, or split with people. I've already have a deal with a couple people where I want like 1.5 of a certain expansion or a conversion kit, and I was like, hey, who's willing to split the second one down the middle? And I've already found a couple people to do that, and that you have that option there. Don't feel pressured to switch out your entire collection. It's a lot of ships, especially if you're a person who have bought multiples. I always buy 4 of a ship. Stuff like that. Just I understand. Again, I'm going to keep saying I understand. It is a financial cost, but if you really like the core mechanics of the game, which I think are still super strong, they are making an active effort to fix the game and make it more balanced. The fun that you had when you started X-Wing is only going to be increased. I know this is going to be new. Change is hard. It makes people uncomfortable, but I think Francois is the one that said it before. The thing we love about this game the most is the dial. I think that is the thing that pulls it apart from any other game, is this, strategy, tactics. I know what your ships are capable of. You know what mine are, and we have to play this game of chicken and figure out where things are going to go. I'm seeing lots of numbers thrown around. It's going to cost me $500. It's going to cost me $700. It only costs you what you're willing to pay. Some people might quit X-Wing, and that's unfortunate. But if you're in that financial situation, I get it. But try, if you really want to play, work on splitting. For the conversion kits, there's at least a minimum 2 of a certain ship. So going halfsies with one person on one conversion kit can at least get you, if you already own a collection of Rebel ships, get you enough to have something there. And if you're not planning on going to major tournaments or major events, you're not going to have to worry about having like multiple copies of upgrades and all this. We can still fly casual with 2.0, right? When it comes to building lists and stuff. Even at our league nights, sometimes we forget cards or don't have them yet, and you make proxies. Like there's a way to make it work for everybody. And let's talk about the word cash grab. I've seen that's a very strong word that's been thrown around a lot for what 2.0 is. And the reality is, do you guys think there was a way to fix 1.0 without making it cost money?
No, and I mean, I think what they're doing right now has already been talked about on other podcasts. I don't know if you all talked about it here on Gold Squadron, but I know I heard Scum and Villainy so many episodes back discuss exactly what they're doing right now.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, I think with all of the cardboard and physical pieces that were sold with each expansion, I think they're doing a great job with building up to not have a 3.0 down the road with this app. I think that's a great idea, and And at least I think they're trying to make an effort to keep the models and replace with new cardboard and cards that I think it just fixes. I see a lot of design space here and fixes from inherent issues that were way back in the core set, even, how the X-Wing was, and then all the way through the waves with the repairs that they were trying to make with auto thrusters and TLTs and turrets and such. So I think they're addressing a lot of issues that a lot of the competitive players I've talked to were wanting fixed. So I think this is a pretty decent thing that they've done from what I'm just reading tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's I like what you were saying is if we're in a good spot, if they did this right, which we do have to say if, because we have to see everything laid out and see how it turns out, the fact that they do have the ability to be flexible allows FFG to adapt to what happens in the metagame, what happens in the competitive game, on the casual scene, and hopefully we don't end up needing a third edition. I don't think we'll need one anytime soon because of how they're going to be able to adjust things on the fly. And it's initially it's going to hurt. People don't like change. Even I'm not 100% like comfortable with the change, because even just having to learn new rules and new core mechanics, that's going to take time to get used to. Your first I'm excited and nervous for that first couple games of second edition where we're going to screw up so much stuff. It's just like you did in the beginning when you started playing first edition, when you didn't know about range bonuses. We're going to forget about range bonuses on secondary weapons. All this kind of things, it's going to happen. But once we get past this initial rough patch of getting into 2.0, I think after that, things are going to be nice. And right now, the people who are a little bit on the negative side, I absolutely understand your side of the argument. I am not trying to downplay it, but I want to let you know that I think that there are options to make it work for you.
And two things is, wouldn't you agree that with this, it seems as though FFG has been listening to the community at large with their complaints of some of the broken or overpowered aspects of the game?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, a lot of the loudest things that you had been hearing for a long time is turrets are too strong, secondary weapons are too strong, VI has ruined pilot skill, auto thrusters got out of whack because of turrets. Like all these big ticket items that we've been talking about on podcasts and videos and all this stuff, a lot of that's been addressed. And the biggest thing is, we've always said, like, the dial needs to matter more. And now with all these, everything's arcs, right? Are you an arc? Bullseye arc. They even came up with new symbols to represent the arcs on the cards. The dial's gonna matter more. Arcs are gonna matter, and that just makes the game way more fun, I think.
And the other positive thing is, I'm trying to look at silver linings too, is some of the newer players have gotten into the game the past few months or year and a half. They're going to be kind of on the same par with maybe some of the more veteran players, just learning a little bit of this new reboot. I would think that that's maybe a silver lining too.
Yeah, when it comes to the content of the game, for sure, we're gonna all be on the same playing level. Where people who are high level players already are gonna have an advantage is gonna be, I mean, your ability to judge small and large base movement. That's not going to go away. That's a tool that if you've been playing since the beginning of the game, you're still going to have that. And I'm glad that people who have that skill will be able to keep it, and those who want it can cultivate it. We're all going to have the challenge of learning how a medium base works. We're all on an even playing field, I would say, again, with with everything being rebalanced and having the ability to adjust them on the fly. Want to address a couple of things that were in the chat here. Some people are worried about force powers being too good. I'm gonna agree with you. I think that's something that FFG will have to watch out for. But again, and it's sorry, not but again. That's something that is not adjustable currently in the way that they have the cards printed, because the force symbol is on the card. So that's something that we'll have to wait and see how the force upgrades are going to end up working. And I think that is where FFG is going to be able to adjust things like, all right, this force upgrade was too good, we'll have to increase the cost.
Yeah, I was going to say, if they do a bit of a flub on future force powers, they can always just increase the cost with the app, and leaves them that versatility.
Or increase the cost of the pilot. And I think that's one of those things where if people keep abusing a card, right? They're like, no, this is so good. I'll pay 25 points for this one upgrade card. You're like, you know what? It costs 200 points for this one card. Use it now. if they have to, they can go that route. And no, it's not banned. It's not banned. It's just real expensive.
Yep.
Trying to see what else did we have here. A couple of people talking about some different upgrades. Glad that infinite bombs is probably gone. We're at 200 points.
About the new tournament structure.
Yeah, I don't even have notes on that. That's a whole nother thing. Like, we know that the first premier event is gonna be Coruscant, right? Is that what I believe? That's what they said at the.
Yeah, that is. They're renaming regionals to like hyperspace. What was it? Hyperspace. I forgot the word they used.
I think it's trials.
Trials, yeah, and then nationals is hyperspace hubs. And you have to. It seems like you're gonna have to qualify to get the worlds from a tournament.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be the whole organized play structure is changing. The kit structures are changing for league play. There's going to be, I guess they're saying for first edition kits that are coming up, there's going to be 2.0 swag in those kits. So one thing that they are doing really, really well is that, they're like, hey, guys, I know that we're transitioning, but we're not just going to make it up just like, boom, we're at 2.0, all of your stuff thrown in the garbage. They're really trying to do their best to make it as smooth a transition as possible. And I know, me personally, I'm all in on 2.0. I'm super excited about it. I'm trying to see what else we're seeing here. People asking about medium bases. We know the U-Wing and the Fire Spray are going to be are going to be medium bases. The Falcon and the Decimator will be large bases. Somebody confirming that we have 33 cards in the damage deck already.
X-Wing is getting its own worlds separate from all the other ones.
Yeah, that's huge. That is huge.
Yeah, that's going to be great. It's in November.
If they're going to have it as its own thing and then go to qualify only, I don't know how much I like that.
Did they say that it was qualify only for Worlds?
Yeah, I think they did.
That's what they either outright said or they heavily implied it.
Well, they also said that with what we now call regionals, that is, if you have the space to do it and you buy the kit, you can have it. So we're going to see a lot more of those regional type events. So it's going to be, I think, easier to qualify. You also are going to have, they're talking about more official support in countries that haven't had it before, which I know a lot of our international listeners were super pumped about. Like people in the audience at the actual Hyperspace Report were yelling and cheering about that. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's going to be new system opens.
Yeah,
beyond Europe and North America.
More system opens, all kind of stuff. And trying to look at a couple of other things. Trying to see. We talked about that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and transition to our outro. And as you guys might know, everybody who's watching, this week we are going to be starting tomorrow night. We will have live streaming from Worlds. And I already got a message like, are you even going to live stream Worlds because it doesn't matter? I think it still does matter. With the upcoming first edition events that are happening and the swag that are part of that, people who are part of the competitive scene, there's still plenty to learn. And I talked about it earlier. Tactics and positioning still matter. That idea in the game is not going away, and being able to learn that from some of the best players in the world is going to be important. Even though some of the tools might be different, watching the decision making and just watching fun games of X-Wing, it's gonna be worth my time. It's gonna be worth your time. So we'll be live Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Friday night for the Goldies as well, and maybe tomorrow night for some late action. It just depends on when Team Epic is. I'm going to be playing Team Epic with my partner, Darwin, who wasn't able to join us tonight. And I know a couple of other Gold Squadron guys are going to be playing Team Epic as well. But even though this is our last first edition Worlds, I think that it's going to still be a valuable game, and I look forward to chatting you guys up in the chat for the streams and just really enjoying this time playing and watching X-Wing. Where is my... There it goes. And the other thing I do want to mention is... I lost my train of thought. Anyway, you guys, gentlemen, I want to thank you guys for joining me on this momentous day, 2.0 day.
Yeah, you called it when they made the announcement. I didn't think it was going to be 2.0.
I did.
Looks great.
Yeah, man, it's huge. So sorry, I'm just reading things. And one thing about our streaming this week, of course, 2.0 is going to come up. Our focus is going to be on the players playing for sure. We want to one of our goals with this upcoming streaming competitive season is we're working on decreasing the salt levels. So let's just have a good time. Let's have fun. If you want to be salty, go salt with your friends. Through Messenger and stuff like that. Let's just have a good time. Let's keep it positive. Let's keep it fun, so that people feel comfortable playing on stream and all that jazz. I'm excited. I think this is going to be a great weekend, and I look forward to bringing you guys tons of content. You can watch all of our streams. Those of you who are watching right now, thank you, on twitch.tv/Gold Squadron Podcast. We also stream on YouTube for the people who are over there. I'm getting some salt emojis in the chat. Love you guys. I lost my train of thought. The salt emojis got me. Thank you to everybody who is a Patreon of the cast. You guys are the one that make all this possible. We're going to be raffling off a bunch of 2.0 stuff once it comes out, because I know people will be pumped about that. We're going to also get our hands on a couple extra copies of Wave 14. And when it comes to our Patreon swag, of course, we're going to be updating to 2.0 for all that stuff. And we have lots of beautiful art that we've commissioned that now we can convert into 2.0 cards as the pilots become available and all that information happens. So I'm working on all that. Today was a crazy day, and I know that there's lots to go, but we have to shut this down because I have to still pack all of this streaming equipment. And I only took about half of it to do this show tonight, because we got stuff to do tomorrow, gentlemen. We got traveling to do.
You know what?
What?
Assuming TLT makes it to 2.0, you can still play 4 Y-Wings. Just fortress in a corner, and then you only have to worry about 2 directions for your mobile arc.
Brandon's already trying to break it.
Right.
Let's go. Let's start it early.
So yeah, anybody watching the stream, you guys know that if you're going to
Also-
Worlds, you have to pack. Go ahead.
Also, for anyone that hates Maul Ezra combo on the Ghost, you can thank the guy for any of that new crap that comes in 2.0 because he was a tester.
Oh.
Jeremy, you've been posted a YouTube video and your name's on the box.
All right, guys. So thank you for watching. For Nathan, Francois, and Brandon, my name is Dio Morales. 2.0 is on the boat. Gold Squadron out. Don't hang up yet, you guys.
And what's this hand thing here?
The hand thing, it's so you can raise your hand and I can pay attention to you, but I had it minimized because all the windows.
Gotcha. Okay. That'll be helpful in the future, I guess.
Yep. Hey, guys, what I want to do real quick, hello, people on stream watching us do this. Because people came in late, I'm going to have to work on syncing the audio. One thing to make it easier is to do a clap all together. So if everybody can unmute, I'm going to count to 4. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and then on 4 if we can all clap. And that'll give me my point to line up all the audio at the end and being able to find where people come in. Is everybody ready?
Okay. Yep.
Okay. Now, it won't sound unified to you because of, like, internet delays and stuff like that, but it all works out in the end. Now, here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. We're going to do it one more time. 1, 2, 3. That one was much better. Okay. So, everybody watching the live stream, have a good night. Thank you to everybody who subscribed during the channel. I got your little dings. You guys are awesome. And I got to go pack. Brandon, I'll see you bright and early tomorrow, man.
Good luck. Safe travel, y'all.
Say it again?
8:30, you said?
Yeah, 8:30.
Good luck and safe travels.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, Nathan, have a good night, man.
Yeah. See you in Minneapolis.
See you there, Francois.
Yep.
And yeah, people on the stream, I do need to get some sleep. We got lots going on. Uh-oh. Francois disconnected before I stopped recording. Yeah, I got to get some sleep. If you want to chat personally, one-on-one about X-Wing 2.0, whether you're super pumped about it or not, feel free to send me a personal message. I mean, I understand. One thing that as a person I've always been really good at is understanding both sides of an argument. Even if I don't agree with you, I can respect, your standpoint, and just trying to. My MO is to be positive and have a good time. So that's who I am. So if you want some of that sunshine, you can send me an email and stuff. But yeah, I got to get to work, and I'm gonna go have some I don't know, maybe some cake. I don't know. Anyway, good night, guys. I'm tired. I'm gonna teach a class in the morning and then start driving up to Minneapolis. So that'll be a good time. Where is my outro? GSP explosion. Have a good night, everybody.